welcome to what I hope to be the start of a wonderful, educational, and, again, academic video series where we get to discuss what we know, we get to show off a little bit as academics, but we also get a chance to compile information on topics that we think are important in the field in a way that we haven't really seen them compiled before. In what I hope came across as sort of a cheesy 80s video intro at the beginning here, you see that we're going to be talking about Vershawn Ashanti Young's Should Writers Use They Own English in our first installment of this annotated bibliography session. The reason I talk about this piece first, I think, is that it's important to my teaching as well as to the way I go about my education, the way I go about my research, and really the way I go about my life as someone who hopes to be a social justice advocate. Vershawn Ashanti Young is responding to Stanley Fish's article promoting and sort of idealizing the idea of using a standard English in composition teaching, first-year composition specifically. What sort of becomes this rant on what colleges aren't teaching makes Stanley Fish a little uncomfortable, because he sees echoes of racism in what Stanley Fish is trying to discuss here. Fish starts off in a great place and sort of starts to spiral when he reads the comments section. So, like I won't be doing on this, I suggest you don't read the comment section on your videos. The important discussion to have when it comes to Vershawn Ashanti Young's response to Stanley Fish is that he's doing it using his own vernacular, the vernacular that he writes a lot of his academic work in, a vernacular that is admittedly different than what a standard English vernacular would be. This is why I use it so often. This is why I show it to my students. It's why I talk about it in everything I write, because it's proving the argument simply by saying the argument. The argument being that standard English is not the only, nor is it the best way that students or academics can get their ideas across to the masses. And I think the best way to demonstrate that is potentially to throw a quote up on the screen and show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to scoot over this side of the screen, this side of the screen, that side of the screen, so that you can see a bit of what I'm talking about here. So as you can see, on this side of me, I'll get used to that, I promise, we have some of Vershawn Ashanti's words here. I've highlighted the important bits, and I hope you'll bear with me as I read through it. I'm going to choose to read it in the vernacular, the speech that best fits me, so it's not going to be the exact quote. It will be as close to it as I feel comfortable doing. I don't think Young would mind too much if I didn't try to bastardize Black English as a white guy. Who knows? Maybe I'll chat with him about it one day. But as you can see here, the quote is, "See, people be more plurilingual than we want to recognize. What we need to do is enlarge our perspectives about what good writing is and how good writing can look at home, at work, and at school. The narrow, prescriptive lens is messing with writers and readers all the way up, because we all been taught to respect the dominant way to write, even if we don't, can't, or won't ever write that one way ourselves. That be hegemony, internalized oppression, linguistic self-hate, but we should be more flexible, more accepting of language diversity, language expression, and creative language usage from ourselves and from others, both in formal and informal settings. Why? Because nobody can or gonna really master all the rules of any language or dialect." What I think the most important moment there in that quote is we should be respectful of different language uses, of alternative language uses, both in formal, academic, and informal settings. So what Young is saying here is sort of the culmination of his argument that in no way, shape, or form Are we all going to completely understand one linguistic form of speech? Or, I suppose, in the important case for us, a form of writing? Young later goes on to say that his understanding, I guess, and his argument is that the reason other forms of linguistic expression are valued, why the standard English is valued specifically for young, or for fish, excuse me, and for others, is that standard English has been traditionally a white middle-class male language. I'll just take this off the screen here. So this is sort of the crux of the argument. This idea that, hey, listen, no one on this planet is going to be a complete master of anything. We are all going to be code meshing. That's right, code meshing. Constantly. We're constantly going to be using different speeches, different linguistic patterns from different realms of speech that we've all mastered. I come from a lower income area, a lower income family, and that often slips into the speech and the writing that I do. I can't always keep up this academic persona in my writing because I wasn't raised to always speak that way. So bits of me come through in my writing. I can't, like I said, perform constantly, consistently in this academic standardized way. Young is arguing the same thing, that simply because someone's language is markedly black does not mean that it is markedly worse than yours, than my English. This is the important bit here, that for Young, one cannot ascribe to a standardized form of English in a classroom because it marginalizes students who did not have access and will never have complete access to that form of English in a way that someone who grew up in a white middle class or upper class area would have done so. It is irresponsible and discriminatory to expect all of our students to be held to the same standard, and we should not do it. We shouldn't be teaching to the standard English, whatever that might be, and we should not be expecting our students to come into our classrooms with that ideology in mind. We should be more respectful to more varied forms of English written and spoken language. That's all I have today on Vershawn Ashanti Young's Should Writers Use They Own English? If you have comments on this or questions, please feel free to leave them on the actual YouTube video. Keep them open. Keep them academic. We want to have conversations here on these things. Do your best to respect your peers, your colleagues, and we'll get this discussion going. Thank you all. I'll see you all next time. Enjoy this beautiful little jingle on the way out. Bye-bye.